I was looking at the various media dispatches today, and Ross Byrne has been talking, and he said, it definitely crossed my mind. It would cross anyone's mind that their chance was gone. The only thing I could do was play week in, week out as best I could for Leinster, and as generic as it sounds, there was no point in me worrying about anyone else. I could only worry about myself. The way rugby runs in this country is Andy Dunne says something, he waits 6 to 8 months, and then the rest of us catch it. So the Ross Byrne drum was banged, and here we are. He's suddenly number 2, and even he, as you can hear there, is touch surprised pleasantly.
Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. I ordered a hot chocolate there from Arthur before I came in, so my rider is getting bigger now as well. Yellow M&Ms only. Yeah, well, I think I was delighted to see him get selected. I was really surprised that he got selected, because I thought they're going to look at Joey as the incumbent and then one of Crowley or, well, probably most likely Crowley, and again with one eye on the World Cup and how many they bring in a certain squad, and you know, so I didn't, but I think they've had a little shift in their strategy, in that I think you probably need to have an out and out number 10 who only plays number 10 as a backup to your number 10, not a hybrid who plays multiple positions. It's too important a position, and I think that brings Ross right into the picture. And I think he deserves it on recent history, being the last 6 to 12 months.
How did he do when he came on?
Yeah, I mean, he's the way the team play lends itself to someone like him coming in and just letting it happen seamlessly around him anyway, because the sum of the parts are so vast at this stage. The way the team is playing is so nuanced and layered and high functioning that he doesn't need to do a whole lot other than slot in. And actually it protects us somewhat from a Sexton injury, as damaging as that could be, and it's a big fear for everyone. I don't think it's as big a fear as it would have been 4 years ago, because he was so central to our success then. Now our success is so evenly spread out across the functionality of the team that I think it lends itself to someone like Ross coming in and doing a really solid job.
Gerry, timing's everything. His timing's quite good.
Yep, it is, although he's had to bide his time. He's 27, he's played over 150 games now for Leinster and Ireland, but with that, of course, comes a calmness and experience and composure that nothing seems to ruffle him too much. You think about it, like 2 years ago, and this is exact corresponding match, behind closed doors, he played the second half, and basically he's been bombed out of it ever since then. He played 1 minute and 1 minute only of the round 5 game against England, when he also started the day as 24th man. And I think it was Billy Burns put out, and he came off the last minute. He reckons he touched the ball once. Since when, he hadn't featured for a year and 8 months until that. And cue the week of the Australian game, he was at least 5 in the pecking order, behind Johnny Sexton, Joey Carberry, Kieran Frawley, Jack Crowley. And we didn't even know whether he was 6, 7 or 8 either, for that matter. It was just, he was out there with Jack Carty and Billy Burns and the rest of them.
Yes, in limbo.
Yeah, and he was called in on the Monday as 24th man, and there he said even players were, you? They were a bit surprised to see him. So he went from being basically forgotten man to 24th man to match winner in one day.
Do you know
and it's all changed since then, but it's also changed on the back of his form for Leinster, which has been good for 2 seasons now. I mean, he's played, I think he started or closed out all but 2 of Leinster's 15 wins or 17 wins this season. He's played 15 of them, and plus now 2 Irish wins. Like, I can't remember the last time the fellow was on a losing team. Yeah. Certainly not this season. And he's very good at guiding the ship around, and we've spoken about him before, about how Stuart Lancaster says he's thinking that Leinster need to do something on the pitch, and as soon as he's thinking it, Ross Byrne is doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
The Brock Purdy analogy from the 49ers in the NFL, a lot of the thinking was, now I know Ross Byrne is no rookie, but how did a rookie come into the NFL and have this seamless transition into a pressure environment? And a lot of the thinking is that he was He get constant game exposure week in, week out for Ohio State, which isn't one of the high-ranking US college teams. Had he been in a higher-ranking college team, he'd have been in and out, changing position maybe. But he played at a constant level, constant exposure to decision-making in a pressurised environment, and therefore he seemed to have a seamless transition. I think that effect somewhat has happened, Ross Byrne. This exposure constantly to high pressure European rugby, very low injury profile, touch wood, and then fine, he's around, he's 27, he's been to hell and back. Yes. He's like, I'm fine now, just give it to me, just let me in, I can show what I can do.
There's nobody more experienced in Irish rugby, it being understudy to Johnny Sexton or stepping in for him.
Exactly.
Nobody more experienced than him doing it, and he's surrounded by a lot of the same players with Ireland.
Because, and further to that point, I don't sense the great debate about getting minutes into Ross Byrne that surrounds any number of the other outcasts. That was a constant theme. We have to give them minutes. We have to get minutes into them.
There's a pragmatism to
Byrne,
it now.
there's a degree of, well, he's having lots of high quality minutes.
The other thing they like about him as well, and I think they want Joey to improve in his part of his game, is we know that brilliant segment that you guys did in Virgin Media with Matt the other day about Johnny being behind the ruck, and even when he's not touching the ball, he's still controlling the play.
That was incredible.
Wasn't it brilliant? I love that.
Honestly, there was if you didn't see it, Matt picked it out, and Rob Kearney backed up that we are listening to him. It's not just Johnny screaming into either.
You put the camera on Johnny and it's pointing that way. And they're all just doing what he tells them, even when he's not touching the ball. And
there was one, sorry, because I know everyone didn't see it. So I mean, Matt was drawing circles around Johnny's finger. You know, this was the like, look at his finger, and so Johnny would be standing at a ruck, and he'd point to the left, and he now, and this is the lovely development, he might drift to the right and take the opposition defensive eyes with them, and then the play will go to the left, and whatever way he pointed, Ireland went, and there was often joy. Sorry.
Well, I think that Ross Byrne has a bit of that too. Okay. You know what I mean? More of that than Joey Carberry has. And so therefore he fits in quite seamlessly. And that's, I think, why Ross Byrne is back very much now in favour as well.
Some turnaround. I mean, you can't be critical of this coaching ticket, really. But it does beg the question, what were you waiting for over the last year, 18 months? Did they think, well, we have Ross as in our back pocket, and maybe Joey has a higher ceiling, so let's persevere with Joey?
Probably. I mean, Joey has footwork and pace more so than Ross does.
Yeah. I think you start looking, maybe it's a bit like cramming for an exam. You know, years out you're looking, and weeks out from exams you're looking at it, well, maybe I'll look at it this way. And when it gets closer to D-Day, suddenly you just have a way of filtering out all the extra stuff you don't need, and you're like, what do I actually need to do to get through here?
So is this like, I'm just going to study Seamus Heaney and hope it comes up in the exam?
Yeah,
that's what we're looking at here.
Possibly. I think he's... Yeah, there's an element to look to how he got back in, and there's always luck and timing in careers, and it's necessary. And who knows what happens between now and 8 months' time, but he's in a really strong position all of a sudden.
As rewarding as that kick would have been, that clutch kick against Australia, and reminding everybody, I think it was Ross Maloney sent out a tweet that evening, you know, Ross Byrne hasn't gone away or something like that. Ross Byrne is still here. Interviewing him yesterday, you could see he was in a much more satisfied, happier place, because now he's in the squad from the start this time. You know, and he'd been picked from the start of the week. He was going to be the backup at half. He gets the last 11 minutes, and he steered the team home to a bonus point try. And in its own way, I think that's been far more rewarding for him personally, and he feels better about himself than he even would have having nailed the match-winning kick against Australia. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There you go. That was just a snippet of Wednesday Night Rugby. I think we did about 45 minutes with Gerry and Andy. Highly recommended. The boys were brilliant throughout, as good as it gets, really. So wherever you get your podcasts, you'll find Wednesday Night Rugby. Andy and Gerry waiting for you.